What does it feel like to be on medication? That's not easy to answer. It's hard to know because you feel like yourself either way. It took me years to be able to positively tell the difference. I knew I performed better on medication and life was much easier. However, I couldn't take a nap and wake up and say, hey, I'm on meds or off meds. For this, it took years of listening to my mind and learning about myself. Until then, it was only others who could tell. Typically, if they found I was bouncy, talking fast, or jumping from topic to topic, they knew I wasn't on my meds. However, it is possible to notice something. Most medications are fast-acting stimulants. They typically start in as little as 5 minutes, so you might notice a difference. There's no kick to it or anything of the sort. Things just start to become clearer, your brain settles down, and suddenly you're not thinking about or stressing over 20 things at once. And suddenly you're able to start writing, reading, or doing whatever it is you've been struggling to do for the last hour, day, or even week. What are the side effects? No medication is 100% safe. There are always risks. Just check out any prescription drug commercial on TV. But the side effects for most tried and true ADD medications are typically minimal. They include difficulty falling asleep, particularly until you're used to the medication, dry mouth, and a decreased appetite. Diet pills were and may actually still be made with stimulants. Another possible side effect, and I don't even know if doctors would call it a side effect, is rebound, or an icky feeling you experience after the medication wears off. I've felt this one. If I don't time my medication right, don't have the right dose, or haven't eaten enough, and the meds wear off in the middle of the day, I feel a bit like I'm spinning and unhappy. For me, the right medication and the right dose and a consistent eating schedule have helped greatly with this. What it feels like to be on medication. Let's say I've started working in the morning and I've forgotten to take my medication. I'm trying to work on a paper and I just can't get started. There are too many other things I want to do, too many other distractions for my mind, or I just stare at a page and ideas won't come to me. My mind wanders and wanders, but I can't get it where it needs to be. Trying to write feels painful at best. It's torture to try and bring my mind on topic. Chances are I'll soon give up, get out of my chair, start dancing with my dogs, pace around the room, or if I'm in a hyperactive mood, start hooting and hollering around the room, as long as others aren't around. Once I start the dancing, hooting, and hollering, not to mention the occasional frustrated word or two that'd be hollered at my computer, I'd realize this was a medication issue. So I'd quickly take my medication and maybe grab a quick snack. Low blood sugar, forgetting medication, feeling stuck, and Michael used to go hand in hand. Slowly I'd stop dancing, settle down, and ideas would flicker in my head. Then I'd sit back down and try to write again. Finally the distractions were gone, ideas would flow, and I'd be able to get to the task at hand. When I first got to college, I was upset for my parents having put me on medication in elementary school. I thought maybe I'd been tranquilized because I couldn't get along with other kids and never figured out how to fit in. I always thought medication robbed me of my childhood. Looking back, I realized that's far from the case. The problem was, and still is, a pill doesn't cure everything. Social skills and friends do not come in a pill. Just because I could focus didn't mean my problems would suddenly go away. And kids are tough. They'd remembered I'd burn them with my impulsivity. Pill or no pill, their memories didn't change. Years after grade school, I also realized I wasn't a zombie or tranquilized. Even on Ritalin, I'd ride my bike for mile after mile after mile. I still had energy to burn and energy to spare. And now, even while training hours a day, I wouldn't even think of riding my bike without my Adderall. It doesn't take away my energy. Instead, it gives me the patience to continue training and the focus to avoid accidents and injury. Can ADD medication be abused? Sure. Just like almost anything else out there, you can always find a way to abuse it. You could likely grind, snort, inject, inhale, stick the stuff up various orifices, or anything else you can think of with your medication and produce a high. But why not save them for their real purpose, getting you through life? If that isn't important to you, I suggest leaving the privilege of this aid for someone who appreciates it. While abuse is not rampant, From what I hear, it takes too much of it to have an effect, that you'd run out of it far too quickly, and as a controlled substance, you just can't stroll in for a daily or weekly refill. But if you abuse these medications, it brings down the whole ADD community. It places that much more of a stigma on ADD and on medication for it, and makes it much less likely that another student can get the help that she needs. Not to mention that if you're listening to this audiobook, chances are you're trying to make college better for you, not even more challenging. Self-medication and abuse. Let's face it, as ADDers we have addictive personalities. For some this may mean gambling, or sex, or video games, or porn, or who knows what. For many ADDers it's self-medication. This means using caffeine, nicotine, or many other drugs to help our brains overcome their lack of brain chemistry. Stimulants such as caffeine and nicotine often have a similar effect to ADD stimulants, except they're also addictive, can cause withdrawal symptoms, and an effective dose for the ADDer leads to all sorts of side effects, small and large. Just look at the jittery caffeine-aholic. Unfortunately, these are the most mild drugs we find ourselves hooked on. We're particularly prone to addiction when we're not on our medication. Often a friend offers us a drug to try, and instead of becoming high, suddenly we're seeing more clearly than ever. Ta-da! Welcome to the world of self-medication. If only you could stay this way without any danger. Problem is, illegal drugs are tremendously stronger than prescription drugs. This leads to needing more and more and more to get the same feeling, and soon enough, the addiction is out of control. Caffeine addicts. Do you crave caffeine? Do you need it to focus and concentrate? Are you a serious caffeine junkie or coffee connoisseur? If coffee doesn't just wake you up, but helps you focus and concentrate, then there's a good chance you've got ADD. Of course, you probably wouldn't be reading this book if you didn't already know this, and it takes a doctor's diagnosis to confirm this. But caffeine is just one of the many ways ADDers self-medicate without knowing it. This is usually the point at which a parent listening to this chapter goes, "Hey, wait a minute, I drink a lot of caffeine too." Yes, ADD is hereditary. Anyway, caffeine helps do the same thing prescription stimulants do, but with some pretty decent side effects. They're diuretics, meaning the more you drink, the more dehydrated you become. In other words, running for the bathroom. They also may or may not cause heartbeat irregularities. I did mention I'm not a doctor, right? And they definitely will cause addiction, the jitters, and withdrawal if you try to stop. It's a nasty headache and nauseousness. At least that's what I've experienced. Yes, I was a Coca-Cola and sugar junkie, but that's a tell-all book for another tale. What's the difference between generic and brand name medication? I'm told there are subtle differences between generic and brand name medication, and that in things like antibiotics, this may not be a big difference. But our brains may be more sensitive to subtle changes in medication or its ingredients. For me, the switch from brand name Adderall to generic was a big challenge. My insurance wouldn't cover the brand name version anymore. For weeks after I switched to the generic, though, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't figure out why. Then I heard about the difference between generic and brand name, but I still couldn't go back to the brand name. The best I could do was try the different generics out there made by different manufacturers until I found one that allowed me to sleep. I did, and for me it was the Adderall equivalent made by a company called Bar. All the others kept me awake. Understand the challenges of generics for the brain and stick with the brand name if you can. And if you make changes in your medication, pay close attention to any of the changes in their effects so you can figure out what's working or not working, and then make changes accordingly. Yes, it is work to do this, but you'll be happy once you get it figured out.